Joining us now to review some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is great Malabite Arise News analyst Emmanuel Efeni.
Good morning, Ruben.
Good morning, Emmanuel.
Good morning, Rufai. Good morning, Leila.
Good morning, Mr.
Johnson
Efeni.
Salami.
Yes.
Plus. Yes. Because there's an addition somewhere which you are not flaunting. Yes.
Is that so, Mr.
Yes.
Efeni?
You're not,
okay.
you just decided not to flaunt certain things. But welcome back.
Thank you, Mr.
Yes. Lover of sports, lover of the environment. You did a great job. I'm sure something is in the works. Another story on the environment. Friend of the environment. Now let's start the review with this day, Nigeria's newspaper of record. The lead story. Ayu, PDP not built on any individual. No person can destabilize it. 2023 poll, a referendum on APC says Atiku boasts he's been tried, tested, receives Shekarau into party. Wike, something will happen in PDP soon. Ex-Kanu governor writes INEC on new status to withdraw Senate tickets. Now, of course, the IU story still all over the place. And you say no one person can actually say you built the party. And of course, if you want to go back in time, somebody has to also be reminded that the Wadata House, which is the PDP headquarters, was bought and donated by an individual. And some say that individual happens to be Atiku Abubakar. And if you talk about contribution, but Wike, of course, commissioning one of his projects yesterday, where he usually makes his statements on the state of affairs concerning his relationship with his party, the PDP, and of course, the presidential candidate. Nothing new to report, you will say, but we can say there's something in the offing. Now, the Vanguard newspaper reporting Obasanjo's presence at Wike Obi's London talks rattles Tinubu's camp. Obi, dirty media office tackles Alake, says no basis to compare Obi with Tinubu. I will name my preferred presidential candidate soon. Rivers Governor, that's Nyesom Wike, says, I know who can rescue Nigeria. As Tinubu meets Osinbajo, Amechi, others tomorrow. Yes. Now, the New Telegraph newspaper also reporting Wike, keep calm, something will happen in PDP. Wike says it will reveal identities of presidential candidates plotting to loot out Nigeria. Now, under the photograph in front page of the New Telegraph, federal government fires back at us as ASU extends strike indefinitely, says it has met 80% of lecturers' demand. State versus can be forced to implement federal government's pact with ASU. Pro-chancellors, Pandev condemns extension. Yes, the Nation newspaper, the lead story, PDP crisis setback for Atiku Wike reconciliation. Atiku's men rally party organs for chairman. Ayu, something will happen soon, says Rivers Governor. Now, just above the lead story, ASU declares total indefinite strike. State varsities not under obligation to implement federal government agreement with unions. And the Daily Trust newspaper, no more negotiation with federal government. ASU declares indefinite strike. Of course, the Daily Trust is reporting that some lecturers had advised that the union should boycott further talks with the federal government until when another government is formed after the exit of President Muhammadu Buhari on May 29, 2023. ASU had declared the commencement of course, this strike sometime in February 14 to be specific. Now, ASU, indefinite strike. I thought that's what they've been on. They've been on an indefinite strike, although they've been extending it piecemeal all this while. But
they call it rollover strike.
Oh, rollover, whatever that means.
Rollover strike.
Rollover. So, and now it's indefinite.
Now they say it's total and indefinite.
Total and indefinite. And some lecturers are saying they shouldn't even talk to the federal government again. Just wait till May 29 next year when there's a new government in place. And you think the new government will just accede to all your demands. But the federal government is saying that it has met 80% of ASU's demand. The other day we asked Professor Shodekel on this program, tell us your irreducible minimum. He said, no, there is collective bargaining. We have met, we have agreed on certain things they should go and implement. Well, and also recall, when his attention was drawn to state universities that are pulling out of the strike, and he called them quack university, remember, on this program. But of course, state varsity pro-chancellors descend on ASU over or set the case comment. That is on the front page of This Day newspaper. Yes, the pro-chancellors are angry and they are expressing that much for ASU president to refer to state university as quack. And of course, they have also stated that they are not bound by negotiations between the federal government and state universities. Of course, why should they? When we're talking of devolution of powers, states should control their resources, decide how they run their state. And we move on. The Guardian newspaper, 2023, federal government will borrow 11 trillion, spend 3.36 trillion on subsidy. Nigeria to spend 19.76 trillion next year as deficit jumps by 54%. Government may not fund capital projects in 2023. Finance Minister, petrol subsidy to remain till mid-2023. Yes, this issue of petroleum subsidy. Now, the Punch newspaper also reporting this story, 19.76 trillion budget proposal, 12 trillion naira deficit worries federal government. Debt may hit 54 trillion naira. Revenue shortfalls to hamper capital projects funding. Federal government says insecurity threatens foreign direct investments. Nigerian economy shrinks by 63 billion naira. 28 sectors struggle. Government decries petrol subsidy. Airline cut workforce over aviation crisis. Families groan as kerosene price rises by 99%. Now, government decrying petrol subsidy. That looks some funny headline. Because the government is the one paying the subsidy. The government complaining about the subsidy.
I mean,
many years ago, of course, 2012 January, when, of course, the Jonathan administration, where Ruben served, at one point, made attempt to remove the subsidy, and of course, certain people who are in government today went on to the streets to protest. And today, here we are, borrowing to fund this budget. 12 trillion deficit. He who goes a borrowing goes a sorrowing. Yes. Scary situation, really. How this government will manage the economy between now and May 29. It's like by the time the Buhari administration is leaving office, it will be handing over an economy that is in dire straits to the next administration. So, we want to hear from the presidential candidates. How will you solve this problem when you come on board? May 29, 2023. I hope somebody will not have high blood pressure when you see the state of affairs in the books as the new president of Nigeria on May 29. Ruben Rufai and Leila Johnson Salami Plus. Over to you.
I think for me, I'm reminded of the words this morning of the presidential spokesperson when this administration first came in, and they were saying, why is the administration not doing anything? Why don't they have ministers? Why don't they have anything? Because remember, it took us 6 months.
6 months, yes.
To get minister.
It took the president 6 months. It's the president's responsibility.
Yeah, and the words were, we are clearing the Augean stable. of the last administration. When the end of this administration comes, that's where we'll be clearing the Augean stable of hitherto mismanagement. Because you had an economy that was on the bounce.
Yes.
That had possibilities in 2015. You were given an economy with the employment rate was not as terrible as it is today. About 10%, if I have exactitude on my facts, unemployment rates. Now you have well over 33%. You were given an economy with a moderate inflation rates. Now you've topped it up. You were given an economy that had so much prospect that was the third or fourth or fifth destination to invest in Africa. But you've taken it and destroyed. You were given an economy with debt less than 20 trillion or 10 trillion thereabout. But now the debt, with all of this next year, we're going to about 50 trillion. If you are to add all the borrowings for next year, now it's about 40-something trillion. You were given an economy with so much prospects, with naira to the dollar, forex rates of about, let's say, 200. Now it's over 700. You were given all the indices in the economy. And what did you leave the economy with? You left it with 2 recessions. In fact, I call those recessions do-it-yourself recessions. DIY recessions. Because we deliberately plunge ourselves into recessions and we blame the international factors. And that's why the next president that should come into Nigeria must be able to give us a roadmap. I have not seen a lot of roadmap. And please, no presidential candidate should come and tell us manifestos are glossy documents. What we have is too dire for the situation on ground.
So we need concrete steps.
We need concrete steps. Write it down, let us read it, and give us a chance to interrogate it. Because we don't want a president that will come in and 6 months down the line, he will say he's trying to get, we need to hit the ground running. If possible, get your ministers and your acts right before you come in. In other parts of the world, I don't know why we don't do it here, they have a pseudo cabinet. It's called a shadow cabinet. If Labour government gets into power today, they already have their first 11 ready.
Well, maybe that's peculiar to parliamentary system.
Yeah, you can say that otherwise, but let's get our acts together up and running and tell us what you are going to do. Because as we speak today, we are down on that. I'm happy this story came on the February of Business Daily newspaper that said CBN loans to federal government hit 20.61 trillion.
The Business Daily newspaper, just put it up there for it.
Well, 20.6, and that's the ways that means we are talking about. That's what that means is printing of money, because it's not that the money was there. This was the money that was printed just to be able to give the federal government 20.61 trillion.
Well, Efeni, with Rotus, we'll do it extensively on all of this. There's something else I wanted to bring up, which I saw in the papers. And that is the Chief of Naval Staff of Nigeria, Vice Admiral Awagambo, being quoted in the papers. And I hope that maybe, you will offer a clarification further, maybe, for purposes of enlightenment. He was quoted as saying, for example, that there's a difference between oil loss and oil theft. The oil theft is when you siphon fuel. But oil loss is when, for reasons of force majeure or some other situations, you are unable to meet production targets. And that in any case, all these stories since January about crude oil theft, the stories are exaggerated in his view. And that in fact, the presence of heavy security in the maritime, borders of Nigeria will make it impossible for anybody to steal crude oil. I mean, so who is lying here? Is it the upstream regulatory body, or the investors in that business, or is the Chief of Naval Staff just trying to call a monkey a dog for us, if any?
Ruben, there is something the Chief of Naval Staff perhaps did not address, but I'm sure his men addressed it some time ago. The super tanker that came into Nigeria took almost 1 month to load 300,000 barrels. Left the shores of this country.
No, they said it was empty.
Empty?
Yeah, they said it was not carrying.
If I even said it's not possible.
It's not possible.
To steal up to even 20,000 barrels of crude per day.
It will take you 3,000 trips across the creeks to steal.
That's what he was saying.
That's what he said in the interview. It was on television.
No, but the supertanker.
He said the supertanker was empty.
Empty.
He was strolling.
Anyway,
It was empty or has been empty.
I think we
there
need
are two different things.
we need to investigate who is lying in this matter of crude oil theft, because we spent a lot of saliva and energy on the subject, only for the chief of naval staff to say people are just exaggerating. It is not true.
But the NNPC has a position on this matter, on oil theft, which they say is real.
Look at the state of the environment in the Niger Delta alone. I think that in itself tells us what the problem is.
Yes.
I think the first way to go is let us see a record of the Lloyd's register of every ship that ever came on the Nigerian waters.
You mean a supertanker came into Nigeria, strolled into and left the Lloyd's record?
We have to go.
Yeah,
we now have to go.
I'm sure.
Thank you very much.
We'll interrogate this matter further.
Thank you very much.